Well, here we are in Sydney. Chris Cole's joined us again, both from the UK. I've got a few questions for Chris to go through. First one, Chris, is why was it so important that Lincolne Scott becomes WSP Lincolne Scott?
It's important because you're part of a group, and we want to leverage that situation. We want to leverage the advantages it will progressively bring. It's interesting that initially people don't always see those opportunities, but when I look back on all the businesses that we've rebranded over the years, all of them would have to acknowledge that there's been benefit by the 2 and 2 making more than 4 when you bring things together. And just, your brand is strong, our brand is strong in some ways for different reasons, and it's the complementary nature of those two coming together that make for a stronger pitch when you go for projects, for example.
And that's worked very well elsewhere in the world when you've conducted the same sort of process?
No doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. We sometimes do it quickly, sometimes we do it slower. It all depends on how long we think the goodwill of a company is essential and its uniqueness on its own, and how quickly it can benefit by the WSP brand. But there's no doubt that if you're patient and you don't expect the phone to ring the next day, that there are real benefits, and we can show those around the world. Yeah.
Obviously, in the sector that we work in Australia and in New Zealand and other of the offices where we operate there isn't much of a WSP representation at the moment. When people ask us, about WSP, what are the 3 things that you would mention about WSP?
We're a client-focused organisation. We are an organisation, a consultancy service provider that is client-focused. That's the first one. I always say, people who know me know that I live by that code in terms of clients. I believe that we are different. I believe that being part of WSP, we are different. We are different to all the peer group. We're different because we are more regionally based. We are different because we've grown quicker. But we're also different because we try to unite all of our businesses around the world. I think in a more focused way and more energetically than our peer group. So the second one I would say is our difference that stands out. And how about being a great company to work for? Being the third one.
I suppose if I'm more moving away from the WSP Lincolne Scott issue, from your point of view, how much involvement do you have with projects these days in terms of submissions or troubleshooting and so on? It's probably something that I get asked quite a bit.
Well, it's a great question, because I would say in the last 10 years, one of the real tensions that I've faced is the size of the group and the demands of the group pulling me away from clients. And thus projects. And first of all, I would say the group has won the fight. I don't get involved in projects now very often, although only last week I attended and represented WSP at a principals meeting on the UK, a very large job in the UK called the Shard of Glass, which is Europe's tallest building. But what I do still do is sit on bid reviews, large projects where we review the whole strategy from trying to win the project. It may be fees driven, it may be strategically driven, but I sit sometimes on those workshops to try and give some input, try to give some almost like third party view in that regard. I still see a lot of clients in the UK, but not so many worldwide, but I see a lot of clients in the UK. And the Middle East. The Middle East, unfortunately, is usually chasing money these days, as you know, in Dubai. But I still entertain clients and interface with them quite a lot. But generally from a general level of how we're getting on as a company, as opposed to a project-related basis. Yeah.
I suppose then the next question, in terms of the global financial crisis, are you seeing signs of recovery in many or the offices and how we're faring through the aftermath.
I'm not seeing a sign of recovery. I'm seeing, what I think I'm seeing is a stabilisation, we're at the bottom, to use a term. I believe we're seeing that. So it's not getting any worse. But there again, we're becoming more accustomed to the market. Because there comes a point, of course, where it's no longer the market, because that is the market.
Yes.
After a year or two, people can't still blame the market for their problems, because you say, well, that's how it's been for a year or two. You must be used to it by now. So I think we're probably around the bottom. Unless you believe in V-shaped recessions, you have to get to the bottom before you can go to the other side.
Yes.
And that's, I think, where we are now. And the severity of the recession or the global situation varies enormously around the world, from region to region. Then it varies enormously to whether you are more biased towards the public sector market or the private sector market, because they're very different in the way they're affected as well. It's fair. It is also fair to say that nowhere is untouched. It's just that some are touched a little more than others. I think we have coped well because we have been proactive in dealing with it. But it's hurt. It still hurts. Many people who work for us have had to take situations that have been unpalatable regarding remuneration, but it means the company keeps together best. That's what we've done.
I suppose finally one of the questions I get asked quite a lot is what about a little bit of history from the beginnings of WSP, and that age-old question, what does the WSP stand for? Before you answer me and say it stands for nothing much, that wasn't good enough for the grandmother of my 2 children. So
no, it's an age-old question, of course. We started just over 30 years ago, and we went public 21 years ago. And 21 years ago we had just over about 100 people. Now we've got approaching 10,000 people. So it's a hell of a story, a hell of a journey, and it's been a 50% organic, 50% acquisitive growth story as well. The vision, it's a big word, but the vision or the idea many, many years ago was to build a significant consultancy that was multidisciplinary. That was the vision, that was the dream, and that was what I put on the table in the mid-80s as what we wanted to do. And 87 was the beginning of that journey, really, when we went public. The international dimension came along a little bit later.
Yes.
And it came along post the early 90s recession, when to be in one market, to be in one country, and at that time we were UK private sector and we were really hurting. It was an easy decision to say, right, if we're going to build a serious business, we need to diversify it. And one of the ways of diversifying it, of course, is geographically. Hence we find ourselves in Australia and many other countries around the world. The original company name, or the WSP, what it represents is the initials of my original partners who retired in the mid-80s. They retired just before we went public. So it was their initials that I adopted. But now we like to think, if people ask, what does WSP stand for, we can turn and say, united by our difference. Because that's the new part of the refreshed brand that is being launched currently. So I hope that people will, rather than stumble over what WSP stands for, they will say that it's united by our difference.
So there you have it. That's our interview with Chris Cole concluded. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much.